I'm really excited. This book that I'm going to read you a couple pages from has been writing me for the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. I've been writing this book called When Wounds Howl. And prior to that, it had another name, but I remember that name coming through, and I just felt this electricity moving through my body. I knew that was the name. I knew the book was ready to come out and to be shared. And at first, I had so many stories come through of like, oh, what if it's too dark? What if it doesn't serve? And I believe every author in some way goes through that, especially with their first book. But my intention with this book is that every person that has, every person that reads it, that holds it, really is transformed by this book, that they understand and fully surrender to the creative intelligence behind their wounds. I believe that we've been sold a story by the personal development and the healing industry that healing is something that we are constantly in the pursuit of. And the indigenous community has modeled so beautifully that healing is not an identity, it's a threshold, it's a marker, it's something that we move through, and that as we move through it, it changes us. And sometimes, especially in my journey with everything that I've been through, I would always wonder, who would I have been had I not gone through the things that I've been through? But at this young and wise age of mine, I'm really understanding that I am who I am because of that. I am who I am, and I am who I am becoming because of all of the things that I went through. When Wounds Howl is a story that blends different genres, and I'm excited because I don't think it's ever been done before. My life, my gifts have made my life feel like a storybook in magical realism. And so it's blending magical realism with memoir and transformational stories that cover three different generations: my grandmother, my mother, and myself. Three women who were the first of their lineage, the first born, but also the first female. And I won't share the story that I open up the book with, but I am going to read a couple of pages from the unedited version of chapter one. Chapter one starts about my grandmother, and I won't explain it anymore. I'm just going to go into it. After I read these couple pages, I'm going to go into a prayer for this eclipse. I find myself in Bali, hence why it's light out here. It's probably dark over there in New York and in the East Coast. But I find myself in Bali, and I find that there's no coincidence that I'm reading this to you from Bali. Bali has been calling me since 2020. And when I came now, I realized that I wasn't ready for her. And in many ways, that's what the book is going to be showing through different storytellings. A lot of our elders hold stories that, whether unconscious or consciously, have been shaping us since the moment we entered the womb. So I'm going to begin with chapter one. There are not many people alive in the western part of the world who remember the names of their grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and let alone great-great-grandmothers. We call them abuelas, bisabuelas, tatarabuelas. Each one represents different levels of embodied matriarch wisdom we have yet to awaken and access within ourselves. Levels of stories churned to wisdom, excavated from the depths of their soul. In a way, these matriarchs embodied their lessons that only come from initiations and rites of passages, from heartbreak, deception, from labor pain, loss, grief, the sweet ecstasy of joy, some finding joy so foreign it feels like a restless anxiety. All kinds of experiences, some with ease, some lessons so profound, all the contractions, expansion that Father Time and the great Mother of Life, and all the types of experiences that wise maturation can only offer over time. It's not just Father Time and Madre Vida that grants these mystic wisdom keepers their matriarchal rights. It's the alchemy of their lived stories that creates the widening, the depth, the opening to a steadfast and resolute power that transcends the physical realm, traversing dimensions, collapsing timelines, moving through deeper spirals, centering in the wisdom of what only they can offer from the fruit of their sacred becoming. From the moment we can speak, we are trying our best to grow up so fast, to finally get there, or arriving where? It's wild and fascinating how fast we want to grow up and somehow accelerate timelines. As a child, we can't wait to be a teenager. As a teenager, we can't wait to turn 18, then 21, then 30. Once we get to the 30s, the elders flirt and seduce the 40s, proclaiming them to be the best decade. Once we embark on the 40s train, the 50 gals start sharing how fabulous the 50s really are when a woman finally has reached no fucks given. A new kind of happiness and fulfillment rooted in royal sovereignty emerges through the 60s and beyond. If and only if we do the work assigned to us. Somehow we know that with age came experience, and with that experience came respect, the kind of respect only the elders had, that we would listen to, that our voices had weight now, that we would be seen differently because now we have the experience that backs us up to know better, to navigate life stronger, wiser, to speak with power and authority, to live fuller and freer, to finally get there unbeknownst to all the young bloods. Deep inside, there was nowhere to get to after all. And that at some point, ultimately through the power of true wisdom, we would finally discover soon enough that the golden moment, the moment that we were all waiting for, was right in front of us all along. That in every moment, it was about arriving fully at who we truly are. I had a sweet sister ask me once, "Do you remember your great-grandmother's name?" I shook my head, no. I had no memories of her, both lived or told. Most people like me can only recall my abuela's name, and her name was Luz Maria, my mother's mother, who in many ways mothered me when my mother had to step into the father role, learning how to provide, hunt, and protect her family when my father was no longer part of the picture. Luz Maria is and was a brave soul. She made decisions that completely altered all of our lives for generations to come, especially the future generations she would meet decades later, and even those she would never meet, those who would not have the privilege of knowing her, hearing her laughter, seeing her smile, tasting her amazing food, or the receiver of her magical care, and such deep-hearted thoughtfulness. Abuela is a guerrera, a warrior, making endless sacrifices of leaving the life she knew for a better, brighter future. Many immigrants called the white picket fence, and the seemingly unattainable American dream for many immigrants back then. That's the power of a true matriarch's choice. The impact of her choices create long waves of endless ripples throughout generations to come, each pebble ricocheting off the water, making what seemed like one small drop affect an entire pond, no matter how big or small this change is or was. Decisions and hard choices they made for themselves, for their families, for their survival and their livelihood that would go on to change the entire playing field for countless families who would never know their name. Many would never ever get to meet. I'm going to stop there because the rest goes into her story. And I really believe that her story, you get to read with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and really savor it. When Bali was calling me in 2020, I was going to be facilitating a retreat. And we all know what happened in 2020, so I had to cancel the retreat. And it was the last year that we had with my grandmother. And I was already in deep grief for many other reasons that you'll understand when you read the book. But it was a moment in time where I was really resisting her and pushing her away so that she wouldn't feel what I was going through. And yet she was with me. So as I'm here in Bali 6 years later, it is wild how many lifetimes have happened, which I'm sure for us all, even you listening. Some moments are coded with a higher divine intelligence, just like our wounds. And so today on this eclipse, I know a lot of people are rushing and trying to write out all of their lists and hold their intentions and their visions and their dreams and their desires and all the identity work that goes with it. But I really, really, really want to encourage you that today you do nothing, nothing of the sort. When you think of this eclipse and the planetary alignment that we had this morning with all the planets, it was like, I believe 6 or 7 of them in just this beautiful one line, almost like marching this beautiful parade. When you think of the eclipse, you can really see that there's something bigger. There's a greater hand behind it all. There's a divine intelligence behind both the destruction and the creation. There's a divine intelligence behind every wound, every painful event that shaped us and that continues to shape us. And these eclipses, they serve this beautiful role of redirecting, reorienting us back into what the cosmos, the stars call our destiny. From the moment you are born, you are this star in human form, moving through a really, really big initiation. And the initiation is actually quite simple, but we as human make it very complicated. Initiation is to be the fullest expression of who we are, our truth. We're all on assignment. But sometimes the mind can get carried on. It happens to the best of us, every single one of us. We tend to overthink things and we tend to stay in different timelines, thinking about the past or events that happened to us, thinking about the future, worrying about the future, hyper obsessing about the future, that we forget our power lives here in this moment. And so the eclipses have this wonderful way, as painful as it can seem, of eclipsing things out of our lives, people, places, situations, redirecting, closing doors, opening unexpected doors. And the ancients believed that these eclipses would bring us back into alignment with our greatest destiny, with the highest timeline of our unique frequency. And so today is really about surrendering. Today is really about appreciating and acknowledging this invisible hand that has been behind all of it. When you think about where you are right now in this planet, which is a rock with water swirling at the perfect mathematical distance from the sun and the other planets, being shielded at the very specific planetary distance from Jupiter, who shields us from so many comets and shooting stars and meteors that could have crushed us long, long ago. But everything is happening in a very, very unique, specific way for a very, very specific reason. There is a divine intelligence behind everything. And the moment you can truly trust that and fully surrender to that, your life starts taking a very beautiful, intentional current. There's a sacred formation to all of it. So eclipses remind us that there is a beautiful intelligence behind all of it. And all we get to do, all we get to do is surrender and trust. And from that surrender, we can allow things, we can let things happen in ways that will completely take our breath away. Now, moving through surrender is an art, and it can be quite interesting and quite confronting. I would love to describe this, and this is how I go about it with my clients. I love to describe this as moving through the jungle. Think of yourself moving through this very loud, chaotic jungle. You are barefoot and you're stepping on stones and pebbles and twigs, and you're moving through these like this forest, these trees, these bushes. Some hurt, some have thorns, some are like, and everything is loud. You're hearing noises, you're hearing the birds, you're hearing the jungle that is so rich, so alive, but also very noisy. And surrendering can feel a lot like that, where you're moving through all of the static in your channel, all of the static in your field. But every step that you're taking, you're starting to breathe a little bit deeper. And you're starting to notice the beauty. And you're starting to notice that all of the sounds go together. And you're starting to now attune to the silence within you. Everything starts to become part of this beautiful background, and you start to realize it is magical. And you're not walking as fast as before. You're not afraid of what you're bumping into. It all starts taking this stance, this art. And you find a really beautiful spot in this jungle. And you sit down. And I always love to find visually the tree with the largest trunk that's near a body of water, where I can stare at the water, or I can put my feet in the water with my back against the trunk, and I'm laying there, sitting, observing, witnessing it all. With each breath, allowing myself to really take it in. The beauty, the perfection that you could have never planned. Surrender can feel like you floating in that body of water, or you relaxing even more on that trunk of the tree. Attuning to your breath, thanking Spirit, thanking Great Mother for this opportunity, for this moment. for this beautiful surrender. I cannot wait to get this book in your hands. I cannot wait to share this with you. This book is going to change millions of lives all over the world. It's going to remind them of their ancestral power. Their connection to God is going to be felt in a very tangible way through this book. It's going to connect you to the wisdom, the ancestral wealth codes of your lineage, freeing you like never before. So I'm going to end with a prayer. I want to thank all of the authors that participated today and have been doing deep work to share this book that has been also on their hearts. I want to thank Sabrina and the entire FemPower publication team for all the heart and soul and the work that gets put into these beautiful, magical labors of love. In a world of AI, I feel like books are going to be so sacred. And there was a time in the ancients would describe that books were hidden, saved. They were how we passed on secret codes. So I want to thank every author that's doing their deep work, including you, Sabrina. I know that you're also publishing yours soon. So this eclipse is happening in Leo with the South Node in Leo. And what a magical time to release all the inhibitions, all the limitations, releasing all the stories that have kept us small, that have kept us hiding, that have kept us from fully stepping into leading from the fullest expression of who we came here to be. Thank you, Mother, Father, Spirit. Thank you for the transmission of today with all of the authors, thanking you, uplifting their books, that all of their creations may it reach the people that it's meant to serve. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the mission of FemPower. Thank you, Great Spirit, for bringing us all together today, for those listening on the replay, for those that have a book on their hearts. Thank you, Great Spirit, for uplifting them in this moment, for their sacred knowing and who they get to become as they write and share this offer, this book with the world. Thank you, Great Spirit, for When Wounds Howl, for my book that is coming this fall. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the words that have been moving through me. Thank you, Great Spirit, Great Mother, for today's eclipse, for aligning every single soul on this planet with their highest timeline, with their greatest destiny. Thank you for having them surrender and trust you like never before. Thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you, Great Mother, for activating their prayers on their heart. May they move as the prayer that their lineage has called them to be. Thank you, Great Spirit, for aligning their path, uplifting their path. Thank you, Great Mother, for giving us the nourishment, for taking care of the people, for taking care of all of life. I pray for the people that have been impacted by the earthquakes. Give them your love, your nourishment, your support. I thank you for the restoration and the harmony of this planet. May all of life on this planet flourish and thrive in who we came here to be, in harmony with one another, in harmony with the planet, with you, Great Mother. Thank you. May it be so. And so it is. Thank you all. I'm so excited. Thank you for today. I love you all. See you soon.